I think there's a real downside to disrupting those supply chains.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that. I'm wondering about R&D, so research and development. Where does that largely take place? Is that in Canada? Is it in the United States? Is it completely outside of North America?
It's generally done in the United States. Some of it in Japan, but the majority is in the United States right now. We do some of it in here, but a lot of it is related to cold weather testing and testing whether our vehicles can match up to the Canadian winters, especially when it comes to the new, when it comes to electric vehicles and hydrogen vehicles and things like that.
So, but the testing is for that is actually done in the U.S. in terms of a cold climate, like for Canada?
But that part of it is done in Canada.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I'm wondering if you could just explain to us the share of the operations in terms of your industries between Canada, the United States, and Mexico in terms of plant operations. What percentage is in each country?
Well, we're producing about a million vehicles a year currently in Canada. It's probably close to 3.5 million in the United States, and in Mexico, I think it's probably around 500,000 units, but I could be wrong on the specifics. Okay. I don't have the data right now.
Okay, thank you. And my last question is regarding pre-clearance. So we've heard from other witnesses before this committee talk about the significance of pre-clearance. Yes, I know as a government we've been looking at airports, but what about would there be an opportunity for maybe streamlining some of the efficiencies with the border crossings if the manifests, we continued on with manifests for e-manifests and pre-clearance of goods in Canada to go into the U.S. and vice versa?
Both Toyota and Honda are just-in-time manufacturing facilities. Pre-clearance is honestly necessary for us, to have a smooth flow of parts across the border. Any interruptions to that, if they extend long enough, can be massive problems for us. So yeah, we would like to keep what we have, and if not, improve it.
Okay, do I have more time?
No, that's about right on. So
okay.
Thank you for that, and we're going to move over. That's the first round done, and we're going to move over to Mr. Peters. Go ahead, you got 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, everyone, for being with us today. I understand that you guys are in Markham. I take it, I'm just assuming, are you guys at Honda right now?
Yes, they are.
Perfect.
Proudly at Honda.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm from Newmarket, Aurora, so I'm just one riding north of you guys. But we go. I just want to, look out the window and see how the 404 North traffic is, because I hope to be in it in about a couple hours if I get my flight on time. So how's the traffic looking so far? Not bad? I'll be passing there in a couple.
It's always good around.
I hope to be driving by there in a couple hours if all goes well. And if I get to my questions, we'll get out of here sooner, so I'll start doing that. But anyway, I wanted to touch a little bit on, and I know, Stephen, good to see you again. David, good to see you. I've worked with you gentlemen in the past. I was affiliated and worked with Magna for a number of years, not too far from where you guys are. But we always get a sense, and I know, David, you represent more than just Toyota and Honda. What are the other manufacturers that you represent?
All the Japanese brand companies that are selling in Canada, we represent the subsidiaries here in Canada. We're not representing the global operations of the companies from Japan.
Right, but their presence in Canada. But I mean, obviously Toyota and Honda are key members of your group. Let people know the sense that it's bigger than just those two, of course.
Right, and just to make the point that Hino is also manufacturing here in Canada with a plant in Woodstock, making medium-duty trucks specifically for the Canadian market.
Right. So I kind of want to dig a little deeper, and I just want to know if there's any distinction or space between the position of some of the Japanese manufacturers when it comes to NAFTA, when it comes to free trade, when it comes to things like consolidating regulations and that. Do you speak? Is there some dissenting voice in your association, David, or even between Honda and Toyota as you're both there? Or are these sorts of things kind of everyone's united about the importance of these free trade agreements and the regulatory change that may follow?
Yeah, well, I would say we, as JAMA Canada, we tend to operate on a consensus basis with all of our members. So, yeah, I would say that's probably the case.
I think it's also important to understand that every one of our member companies manufactures in the NAFTA region. So, the experiences that we have importing or exporting from Canada are the same experiences that other member companies have from their operations in the U.S. or Mexico if they don't manufacture here. So there's a common vision.
Right, and historically, I think it's I know Toyota numbers from 2000 to 2015 maybe. The footprint in Canada and North America, the number of cars sold in Canada, those that are produced in North America, Canada has grown over that time frame. Does that continue to be the case, and is that also the case for Honda and some of the other members of your organization?
Yeah, so on behalf of Toyota, it certainly is increasing, and investments continue to be made. Scott's identified, but the same is true at Honda, and I think Hanif wants to expand on that.
Well, I was just going to say, obviously, we made an investment earlier on this year, so we're looking. We built 400,000 last year. 75% of our vehicles go to the States, but 100,000. Our sales numbers.
Excuse me, sir. You might want to get a little closer to the mic. Get closer to the mic there. Okay, and just repeat your comments, if you may.
I was just going to echo what Steve said. That we, as Honda, have been investing more in Canada, and our production numbers have gone up, and our sales numbers continue to grow. So
that's good. And am I fair to make the assumption that some of that growth, or most of that increased capacity in North America and in Canada, is a result of NAFTA and the integrated supply chain and those sorts of things that flow from NAFTA?
Absolutely.
It's 100% attributable to NAFTA. I mean, both of us started manufacturing in the late 1980s. In Toyota's case, it was initial 50,000 units. We made just over 600,000 units last year, last calendar year, and I would say with 80% of that going to the United States, then yes, NAFTA is a singular reason for our growth.
Excellent.
In fact, Scott's being a little modest. TMMC is the largest manufacturing operation in Toyota globally by volume, so it's been a substantial increase.
Okay, that's good. I think I'm almost out of time, but thank you, gentlemen. Honda, we love having you in York Region. Stephen, if Toyota's ever looking for some space in York Region, let me know, and we'll see if we can help you out.
Sure. Here we go.
Okay, Mr. Peterson, your time is up, but that was good promo at the end, and we're going to move on now to the Conservatives, and they have 5 minutes. Mr. Van Kersen, you got the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you all for being here. It's good to see you again. I was always curious, and I think I know the answer, but I'd like you to tell me why, when so many other manufacturers chose Mexico or United States, Honda and Toyota chose to make a substantial investment in Canada. And I know the dollar is a factor in that. What other reason is there that you chose to make Canada probably your leading manufacturing spot in North America? Mr. Beatty, or
honestly,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to hand it to Scott McKenzie.
Honestly, speak on Toyota's behalf, but I would expect that Honda's would be the same answer. We've got great people here. People that we hire as part of our talent pool, and that could be technical people, it could be manufacturing people as well. We have a tremendous reputation for quality. I think the Japanese OEMs, and actually not just the Japanese OEMs, actually all of the OEMs in Ontario have a tremendous record in terms of manufacturing.
We're losing you there.
We're recognized within Toyota as being, one of the best or highest quality manufacturers globally. And we've got reliable production. They can bank on us for the units that they order. And we've never had any concerns with explaining that we're a valued entity within Toyota.
So I'm going to address the elephant in the room. The way I see it, United States, and specifically Donald Trump, has a real problem with the Midwest. That is that much of their manufacturing has moved either to Canada, especially to the United States in way of North American automakers. What happens if Donald Trump says tomorrow, geez, fellas, we'd love to have you sell your cars here, but you're going to have to start making them here? What point, or at what point, I guess, would you either comply, or is that a consideration? Is that something that you're considering at this point?
I think it's fair to say that we already do manufacture substantially in the U.S.
You know,
Toyota's operations have taken us into states like Indiana, Kentucky, Texas, and beyond. We have design and engineering facilities in California and Detroit. We've got a very strong on the ground level of investment because a basic principle of Toyota is we build where we sell, and the U.S. is a top 10 market in the world. So is Canada. So it makes sense for us to be invested in both countries and to work back and forth. And that level of integration between our operations, the dependence on each other's suppliers, is all part of the benefits, I think, that have come out of NAFTA and that relationship. So we're going to be talking, I think, not just from the corporate executive level, but from the level of our associates about the importance of jobs, about that investment, and what's happened in the economies for both. And I'm convinced that those voices will be heard.
So you mentioned earlier that if we had harmonization with jurisdictions like the European Union, that would give you or gain you entrance into Europe and make it more affordable, I suppose, to move into Europe. Is that something our government should be considering and possibly encouraging the Americans? Because let's face it, it's the Americans that make the rules.
Yes, I'll say from Toyota's point of view, we manufacture 2 vehicles right now that are quite popular in Europe. Actually, all 3 of our vehicles are popular in Europe, but one of them they manufacture there. Access to the European market would be good. It would be a good outlet for us. But actually, right now, we do not manufacture a vehicle that's saleable into the EU because they have different standards, different vehicle crash testing standards, different lighting-related standards, and that's not something that's impossible to overcome, but it is something that we would have to overcome.
Scott?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I've only got a minute. I do want to ask you this question. Are there any plans for Toyota to build heavy-duty trucks for the North American market?
So we build medium-duty trucks through our sister company, Hino, and we currently have a heavy-duty truck that's powered by fuel cells that we're using in a demonstration in the U.S., so there's some possibility that will also develop.
And is that being manufactured in Canada? Is that manufactured, the heavy-duty trucks? Canada or United States?
The medium-duty trucks are being produced here. The heavy-duty truck it's a pilot right now, coming out of Detroit.
Okay.
Thank
I think
you,
I'm out of
and,
time. Thank you very much.
That wraps up your time. We're just going to have one more MP on docket here, and Mr. Fonseca, you've got the floor. Go ahead, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the witnesses. I proudly drive a GEM built car, I guess, from one of your. I won't say which car it was. It was actually it was manufactured here in Ontario. But I asked myself about the car. So the all the pieces, components, etc., must have gone back and forth across the border. We hear often 6-7 times. How, is it a Canadian car? Is it an American car? Really, it's a North American car, and I don't even know if some of those pieces came up from Mexico. Can you kind of take us through that? How much of a car is really? I know it may finish and come off the line here in Canada, but a lot of it could be American.
Most of it's North American.
North American.
Say in terms of content, as I said earlier, about more than 50% of it is coming from the United States. A lower percentage coming from Mexico. It's mainly electronics, wire harnesses that we will get from Mexico. You need to understand that it costs a lot of money for us to ship parts, and we tend to centralize our supply chain near to our manufacturing base. We do import parts from Mexico. We import parts from Japan, but there's always economic factors that cause us to centralize our supply chain near our manufacturing facilities. But right now, we're a strongly North American car.
So from what we've heard in terms of if any tariff was imposed going back and forth across the border, have you envisioned something like that? What would that mean to those parts? So parts coming over gets a tariff from the U.S., and then if there was a tariff going back the other way, how would that even work? Would that be possible?
To Stephen's point earlier, at some point, I think a company would make a decision whether it's worth it, and then make a decision if they just want to import an entire vehicle. For instance, Toyota makes vehicles in Japan. Would it be cheaper for Toyota to bring a Japanese-built vehicle into the Canadian or U.S. markets and just pay a 2.5% tariff on the vehicle into the U.S. or 6.1% into Canada, rather than looking at the 3,000 parts we have in a car and paying a 2.5% tariff or otherwise on every single part, every single time it crosses the border?
Sure. Now, we've had a great deal of success. We've had a great deal of success in terms of landing assembly plants here in Ontario. So Toyota and Honda, we mentioned Alliston and Woodstock, Cambridge. The ingredients that have made that happen for you to be able to go to the global table and say where we have our competitive advantage is that sometimes it's a low dollar. It could be the workforce, the infrastructure that's there, supply chain, etc. Can you take me through a little bit of that? Like, how do they all stack up? What's most important? What would be like number one for you?
Manufacturing cost per unit is how we're judged. We compete within Toyota for manufacturing mandates, and we get compared to other jurisdictions in terms of, for instance, if they make a RAV4 in Japan or they make one in Russia or China, how much does it cost us to make that versus some other jurisdiction? It could be the cost of labor, which again is your Canadian dollar. It could be the cost of electricity. It could be many factors. But where we generally do well is our manufacturing efficiency. So spreading out, for instance, fixed costs over more units. The more efficient you are in your production, the better you are. Our reputation for quality and our reputation for delivering, the orders that are made by our sales company.
Now, our economy is doing quite well. Unemployment's down to 6.5%, I believe. Our growth rate has really taken off here, especially in Ontario. And we've heard that there are some shortages in terms of skilled workers. Has that been an issue for you in terms of finding talent? I know we're attracting a lot, but has that been an issue?
It's been a challenge. I wouldn't say that it's held us back in any way or affected us directly in a negative way, but yeah, it is hard. Actually, skilled trades is an example we require. Finding them quickly is a challenge. I wouldn't say that we have a shortage right now, but it's definitely harder to recruit and bring in those people.
And the skills requirements are changing now, and we're competing against other high-tech sectors for valuable employees with good training and experience. So we have to pick up the pace on the way that we attract people to the industry generally.
So would you say the technology triangle there with the Kitchener-Waterloo area would be that would be a driver? That would be something that you can take to that global table?
Absolutely. I should have mentioned it earlier, but one of the aspects where we're particularly strong is in local innovation around manufacturing technologies, and we have a lot of local partners, suppliers or technology providers in our area that we draw from, and other jurisdictions simply don't have that. Our operations in the U.S. can't compete with us in terms of local innovation.
Thank you, and that wraps up the time. I just got a couple quick questions, and you might already answer these questions, but just for Toyota and Honda, first, how many vehicles did Toyota produce in Canada a year?
Last year was slightly over 600,000.
That's like over 2,000 a day.
Yes, we have 3 plants, 2 in Cambridge, 1 in Woodstock. Yeah. We build a car every 55 seconds in 2 of those plants and every 2 minutes in the other plant.
So about what would be the 70% U.S., 20 here? And how much would go to Mexico, or what's the breakdown? Toyota doesn't currently ship a car to Mexico. We have in the past. Okay.
We do make about 81% goes to the U.S. and the rest remains here in Canada.
What about Honda?
So last year, just over 400,000. We have 3 plants in Alliston, 400,000 cars. 100,000 sold in Canada, so every